Okay, hi everyone. We're going to do today my basic pizza dough recipe. This is a Neapolitan pizza dough recipe. It's 50% hydration recipe. Now, all that means is for the amount of flour we're going to use 50% water. So we are using 700 grams of flour. So we're going to use 350 grams of water. We're also going to use 21 grams of salt and 1.4 grams of dried yeast. Okay, so I'll put the recipe up at the end of the video for you, but essentially what we're going to do is make a basic Neapolitan pizza dough that is good for home ovens, pizza ovens, things like that. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to use simple ingredients and we're going to let nature and time do the magic for us. Okay, so this recipe needs 30 odd hours. Okay, so if you're going to do pizza on a Friday night, so you're going to cook pizza on a Friday night, you need to start making this recipe Thursday morning. Okay, it'll become clear as the video goes on. Okay, so what we start with is water. Okay, 350 grams of water. Now this recipe will make 4 pizza balls. Okay, so 4 pizzas from this recipe. So 350 grams of water, room temperature, if not a little bit warmer, but room temperature is good. Now you need to measure it in grams because it is a 50% hydration level of the amount of flour we're using. So 350 grams of water, pop that in your mixer. Now you can mix this by hand. Okay, you can do that if you've just got a big bowl. You can mix it by hand by all means. Okay, it will come together. Okay, but I'm using my mixer. Okay, now this is my Morphy Richards twin hook mixer. I quite like it. It's pretty good, but I'm pretty sure you can do it in a you can do it in a stand mixer for sure. I'm pretty sure you could do it in a blade mixer, possibly. It might come together, and then you just need to tip it out and give it a good old knead on the board. So water. Next thing, salt. 21 grams table salt. Okay, just standard table salt, and just pop that in the water. Okay, like so. Now we just want to give that. These are my little things. These are not professional things, by the way. These are little things that the onion salad comes in from my local curry house, which I eat way too much. Anyway, so we need to zhuzh that around a little bit. Okay, so we're just going to get the mixer going just for a second or two. Just excuse the noise. Okay. All we're looking to do is just mix the salt, dissolve the salt in a little bit. Okay, so we're just going to do that just a little bit. That's fine. Okay, next step, we take our flour, 700 grams of flour. Now flour, not standard plain flour, not self-raising flour. What you want is either double O grade flour or what is sometimes called pizza flour. I use Caputo and other brands sometimes, but either pizza flour or a double O flour or a strong white bread flour. What you're looking for is a flour that has a protein value of between 13 and 14%. Okay, anything like that is going to do you fine. Okay, now what we do, we don't just dump all the flour in. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to put a few big spoonfuls of our flour into our mixture. Okay, 3 or 4. All right, doesn't really matter what. Now we're going to run the mixer for a few seconds. Okay, so just bear with me for the noise. What we're looking for is a sort of thin batter consistency. Okay, so we're just going to run that. Okay, Now you can see now we've got our thin batter consistency. Now what we now need is yeast, the magic, the absolute magic. Okay, 1.4 grams of dried yeast. Now this is the yeast that you buy in packets, the little 7-gram sachets for making bread. Okay, so we only want 1.4 grams of it, which is absolutely nothing really. Okay, if I show you what I use, I'll just show you now quickly. I use the old the old drug dealer scales here. I got them off Amazon or eBay, can't remember which. They're all over the place. You can get them, they're reasonably cheap. That'll measure it in 0.0 grams, so you can do the 1.4. But if you haven't got those or you can't get hold of those, what we're looking for, if I just put it on a teaspoon for you, you're looking for reasonably that sort of amount on a teaspoon. Okay, so half a teaspoon, it's about a third. In real terms, it's 0.28 of a teaspoon, but a third up to about half will do it. If you can get to 1.4, measure it out properly, that's great. If not, you'll you know, as you do the recipe more and more, you'll get to a level where you find it works. Okay, so yeast in. Okay, just pop that in. There we go. Okay, pop our stuff away. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to run the mixer, and we're just going to add in the flour, a couple of spoonfuls at a time, and we're going to run the mixer for 5 minutes, and it will come together as a dough. Now it won't look like it's going to come together straight away, but trust me, it does come together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. Okay, I'll speed the film up a little bit so you don't have to watch the whole 5 minutes in real time. Okay, and you'll see the dough come together, and then we'll see it at the end that it's a proper dough. Okay, here we go. So mixer on. Oh, should just say, mix on at a reasonably slow speed. You don't want to be whipping it. We're just making a dough, so you'll see that it's quite a slow speed. Anyway, here we go. Okay, so there we go, 5 minutes in the mixer, and we can see our dough has come together. So we just pop this off. This is always a bit difficult to get this bowl off for some reason. I can't ever work out why, but anyway, there we go. Right, so we've got the bowl off. Okay, so now all we need to do is give it a quick knead. Okay, so the mixer's done most of the work for us, and we just take these little bits off and make sure we've got our dough. Now, as you can see, if you do bread making, if you've done other pizza doughs, bread making, things like that, you'll see it is quite a tight dough. You can see quite a tight dough there. Okay, now the reason for that is that this is the basic recipe. The the easiest one to work with over time. So as you can see, it's quite tight. Okay, so we're just going to give that a little bit of a knead. Okay, just a little bit, just to make sure we're bringing it all together. Okay, now there's various ways you can knead. Of course, you can do any number of things. You know, lots of people tell you how to do it. Listen, this is just basic stuff. Okay, we're not going to win any awards with all this stuff. Okay, this is just basic techniques. All you're doing is just turn it over a little bit and push it down. Turn it over a little bit, push it down. Just a basic kneading technique. That's all you need to do. And just do it just for a couple of minutes or so. It doesn't actually matter at this stage, okay? Because as I said, all we're going to do is we're going to let nature and time do the magic and the work for us. Okay, so we've got our dough here. Okay, and as you can see, it is quite tight, it is quite stiff. Okay, but that's not a problem, because over the next 24 hours this dough is going to transform. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, this now rests for 24 hours. This dough, you're not going to touch it now for 24 hours. Take a bowl, doesn't need to be greased, it's all fine. The dough is nice and dry and ready to go. So what we do is pop your dough in your bowl. Okay, have a big enough bowl that it's got some room to grow. You can see there's some growth room in there. Okay, so pop your dough in. Okay, wet tea towel. Okay, so this is a 50% hydration dough, so we've got 50% of the amount of flour is water. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit more moisture in at this stage. Okay, so get a tea towel. Okay, get it wet, wring it out, then tea towel over the dough, place it over, okay, right on top, all the way around. Okay, so you've got it basically sitting on top. Okay, we leave that like that for 2 hours. 2 hours with the wet tea towel on it, don't touch it. After 2 hours, we're going to take the tea towel off and cover the bowl in cling film. Okay guys, so this dough has now had 2 hours under the wet cloth. So take the wet cloth off and we can see it looks exactly the same. Okay, very little difference in the dough here other than it's a little bit wet, but that's okay, that's exactly what we want. So now we just cover it in cling film. Okay, literally this is all you have to do. Cover the bowl in cling film. Okay, leave somewhere for the next 22 hours. Okay, room temperature. Okay, do not refrigerate this dough at this stage. You want it room temperature for the next 24 hours. Just put it somewhere, forget about it for 22 hours. We'll come back and we'll look at it then. Okay. Okay, so here we are, 22 hours later. Apologies if the sound has changed. We just moved to a slightly different shooting location, but here we go, 22 hours later, and we can see our dough has risen beautifully. We can see some nice rising on there. Nature and time has done its work. So this dough is ready to be portioned and rolled into balls. Now you can, once you've rolled it into balls, you can freeze them, you can refrigerate them at this point for a couple of days, take them out of the fridge 6 or 8 hours before you want to use them, let them have their second little rise. If you freeze them, once you've balled it up, just lightly, very lightly oil the ball, and I'm talking properly light, barely anything on it. Pop them in a freezer bag, put them in a freezer, and then when you want to use them, take them out 24 hours before you want them to be ready, and you'll be good to go. If you want to use them this day, portion it, roll the ball, and then leave them again room temperature for 4 to 6 hours before you use them. So that is the basic Neapolitan 50% hydration dough. As I say, it's a starter dough. It's It's a basic recipe, but give it a go. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you've tried it, what you think could be improved on. We will do some videos of 60% hydration doughs and 70% hydration doughs, just so we can see the difference, get an idea of how they handle differently, how they cook differently. If you want to see how to ball and shape the dough, check out the video for that. That'll be on the channel. And we're going to get into later, we're going to get into some recipes, some cooking. We're going to do some different cheeses, sauces, things like that. But if you've liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.